So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm the last one, so you survived through the second day of game camp. Thank you so much for being here today. Huge thanks to Laurent, Manon, and all the game camp staff for giving me this opportunity. My name is Elisa. I'm the business developer at a small indie studio based in Italy called Broken Arms Games. I have a background in computer science. Worked some years as a developer. Now I'm mainly handling business development inside my team and my company. And basically, I'm a tech girl that loves numbers, so I'm going to show you a lot of it. Before I start, I want to give you a little bit of a warning. This is probably the most indie stuff you're going to see between these 2 days. What I'm going to show you in this presentation is a teamwork. I have to thank my team back at home, my business partner Eve, who is here today, because what you're going to see here is just not my stuff and analysis, it's a team effort. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start. A little bit about us. Broken Arms is an indie studio based in Italy. The company started unofficially in 2013, but only in 2017 we shaped up as a company. Our background stays in mobile development mainly, and we transitioned slowly to PC and console in the last 3 to 4 years. We believe that there is a way for us as indie studios to take informative decisions in game development to minimize our risk and grow a self-sustainable business. Or at least that's what we try to do with our latest game, 100 Days Winemaking Simulator. In this talk, I will go through a post-mortem analysis on our game after 2 years-ish, 2 years and something since release. We came to the conclusion that it's possible to developing and self-publishing a game looks more like a marathon than a sprint. So a little bit about our game. I don't know how many of you knows it. If you don't, it's on PlayStation Plus extra starting from today. So when you go back home, you can download it for free if you want to try it. 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, as the name states, is a game about making wine. Strategic, sort of simulative game. We have decided to develop this game as our studio, myself, my business partner. We come from a winemaking area in Italy. When we started pitching around this project in 2019 mainly, every person in the industry was genuinely interested into the game, but still on the fence. They didn't understand completely a possible target audience for this game. So we started researching for data in that space and trying to answer a simple question. Is there a market for this game and how big it is? Here started our marathon and our journey. In July 2019, we released a Steam page in order to see if we can get any traction on our own. We started scraping data every single day. If you go on our Twitter account and you go back couple of years in the timeline, you can still see a post with a Google Drive doc that I think it's still available. And from each single day, we started putting there some numbers on single page visits, unique users, wishlist addition, wishlist balance, top countries. We started to research if there was anything that was affecting our visits to the game page and also our wishlist. We started getting some traction thanks to a couple of factors. First, a Reddit post that ended up generating an article on Destructoid and a little bit of buzz and tweets around that article, especially on Twitter and social media. What I'm going to show you in a little bit overlaps with yesterday's presentation and talk from Jared from Devolver. So you're going to see something that it's really similar in some stages. I'll give you also a twist on that as well. We started getting some traction, and we started growing some wish list and page visit. And we understood, first of all, that we had to translate the game page. Localization is key, both for the store and the game, to grow visits and wish list as well. tracking down the top countries allowed us to actually understand correctly our top seller countries at the end. We did that sort of process day by day, constantly for over a year, until release, every single day. And while we checked our data, we were still trying to find a possible expectation, or at least a possible projection on possible sales. At that moment in time, we started reading a lot about Simon Careless Substack, game discoverability Substack, and we started to create some possible models for sales and revenues. We worked on that model for a lot of time, trying to figure out possible scenarios and outcomes. I'm not going deeper into the wishlist strategy. You can find a lot of information into our Twitter account, and there is also a talk on GDC Vault from 2021 from our narrative designers. She does a little bit of explaining all of that. So, but if you want to have some more information, you can ask me later if you need something. As once an incredible lady told me, the gap between expectation and reality is called sadness. Even if our numbers kept growing for almost 2 years and we were happy, we were always thinking about the worst case scenario while planning for a possible good outcome. Remember, at the end of the day, we are developers, so we always plan for the worst case scenario. Based on game discoverability substacks and their conversion data and numbers, we kept updating our scenario, slowly transitioning from wishlist growth to followers growth. We even had what we called a surviving mode plan, took down company costs and estimate how many copies we should have sold in order to keep the boat floating. Here is the moment of truth. It's release day. As you may see, this is the number for the first week of sales. Numbers drop down pretty quickly, but one thing that I want to mention is that for the first 3 months after release, probably a little bit over that, we updated the game almost weekly. We kept communicating on our Discord community to get feedbacks from the users. We were able to afford major development post-launch due to the first week sale. Our whole plan was, okay, we are releasing a premium product, but we're going to treat it as a game as a service. So we're going to update it and keep working with our community as much as possible, as long as the game sustains us. Immediately after launch, we realized something that we didn't expect. Let's see if it highlights it. Okay, for 1 hour, we were in the top seller charts on Steam, in the Steam front page. We were close to Biomutant. You can see us there. Sorry, it's in Italian somewhere. So, in that same hour, we sold around 300 copies, more or less. That means that Biomutant probably sold 299, something like this. As a developers and players, we always used to see huge, incredible numbers for the AAA title in 100,000s or measure. In order to get to that 100,000 copies, and in order to get into that charts, you need to go through the 300 copies sold in 1 hour. That's already, for a small team as us, a huge achievement, an incredible one, and usually as a developer, we don't celebrate it so much, so I encourage you, all of you, in case something like this happened to you, to celebrate it, because it's a huge, incredible milestone. Then what happens? As I told you, the gap between expectation and reality is called sadness, but we were still super happy with the results. Lower than our expectation, but still in the positive side of positive spectrum of possible scenarios. One thing that I want to point out is that this has been our process, and it's successful for us as a company. In that specific historical moments, let's say that once everyone in the world starts looking for a specific metric, for example, wishlist, that metric starts to be less effective as it was before. My personal opinion is that a successful game is a combination of a lot of factors. As a developer, you cannot control all of them. when we were pitching around 100 days, we realized that we didn't need a publisher. We just need the money to close the development. Then we knew exactly what we wanted to do. And what I'm going through from these slides on is what we planned in advance. Some stuff were planned, some others happened. And the whole strategy that goes around it, it's what actually allowed us to be the successful company we are now, and we are today. One thing that we started thinking about immediately after launch and was already planned for us was sales planning. On our previous title, that was not successful as 100 days, unfortunately, we work a lot on discounts and a lot on following the all Steam sales and following the charts. That made us, at the end of the day, to sell some decent copies on that title and to recoup some of the costs that were lost at the beginning. So immediately we were like, okay, once 100 days is out, we start planning for sales. Here you can see a post-release time. Yeah, it's working. Even if 100 Days is a premium game, we treated from day one as a game as a service, as I said before. We knew that there was a chance there to capitalize more on our user base and grow it during the lifetime of the product. Game as a service for a small team is an incredible effort. A team like us usually should have the next game signed with a publisher or secured in terms of funding before the current game comes out. We took a big risk in investing almost all the company resources in 200 days, but the road was almost immediately clear for us. 100 Days will never be an IP as it was shaped and designed, but we can grow a community there that will recognize us as a developer and hopefully in the future our work. So to give you a little bit on the sales schedule and opportunity that we saw around, we all know that players, especially on Steam, love sales, but as a developer, we know how much Steam takes from every single copy sold, and we want to maximize our income every single time we are on sale. Our philosophy is simple. Don't discount so quickly with a high percentage. Even if your game has sold few copies at launch, don't be tempted to discount heavily to boost sales. It doesn't work. Instead, try to follow your user base. Use every single discount opportunity, go down little by little, and earn the most out of every single copy. This has been our sales schedule for the first 10 months, and you can see there we have applied for every single possible opportunities with a reasonable depreciation queue over 10 months. Here I want to point out a little thing that we discovered after almost a year, actually. Comparing smaller sale to bigger time frame sales. Let's see if it works. Yeah. First of all, conversion. Conversion happens mainly in the first 1 to 2 days. Then the conversion rate gets really low. That means that if you are on sale for 5 days or for 15 days, you will still have those 2 days that are the one that actually converts players into buying your game. Between all the different sales opportunities that you can see there, the one that have sort of a specific niche and target that are, we call them themed somehow, beside, of course, making you sell some copies of your game, they attract new players. They attract a whole new audience to your game, so they can be used as a marketing opportunity. Seasonal sale the main Halloween or winter and summer sale will sell to your audience and will lower down the wish list. But what will happen with the wish list is also that a lot of people will receive tons of emails with all the different games they have there, and they will delete your game from their wish list. Due to the change in Steam policies over the last year and a half, from now on, we are probably participating much more in shorter sales, much more than the bigger one. The bigger one don't convert as much, and we don't get so many people into the game page, and we don't attract a new audience to our game during those period. Here you can see a little bit of breakdown of our sales between PC store, cloud gaming, and there is also console. No, it's not there. As you can see from our data, Steam made a lot of our sales for PC. We are talking that about 92% of PC sales in general. Remember, it was 2021 when we released the game. At that time, Stadia was still a thing before it died completely. We made an effort to be able to release simultaneously on Epic Games Store and Google Stadia. We knew from the beginning the market there was really small. We knew how much of an effort it was for us as a studio to publish simultaneously with PC, but we knew as well that there would have been moments in time later on where those two platforms can convert in deals and possible revenues for the studio. That actually happened around 6 to 9 months after release, and we've been able to get into Stadia Pro and Epic Free opportunities, and those made extra revenue on top of what we already had from the sales. In July 2021, Steam released a new feature called the Cross-Publisher Bundle. Since we started to communicate 100 Days, there were a couple of titles and a couple of teams developing other games that we follow each other. We liked each other's stuff on Twitter. Those two were mainly Good Company and Snowtopia. We had a connection with those devs. We had similar audience. We had similar issues also in the development. So we jumped into the cross-publisher bundle opportunity and asked them if they wanted to actually do some stuff with us. Being the only one in self-publish, as soon as we saw this new feature, it was like, okay, let's try it out, and let's see if, on the other hand, publishers and studios will accept our offer. They accepted our offer, thankfully, and we created the bundle. Those sales units are a little bit old. Probably we are almost double that now, I think. Numbers are really low, you can see that. But still, if it wasn't for the other two games, probably we wouldn't have any additional $7,000. So still some money earned using a simple feature from the platform. DLCs. 100 Days is, as I said, a winemaking sim. The base game is located into our region in Piemonte, but of course it has the structure and the opportunity to expand in different regions and territories. We had this idea in mind from the beginning. We didn't know exactly how much would it cost to develop DLCs for the game. DLC ended up costing a little bit more than what we expected, and we knew that through the conversion from the audience that bought the base game to buying the DLCs, probably we wouldn't have covered the cost. So we were like, okay, let's think about a possible solution for us to recoup some money on those DLCs. So we made mainly two things. First of all, we postponed the Napa Valley DLC to late December, taking advantage of the winter sales in which the game was around a 30% discount mark on PC. Releasing also the DLC incentivized the user to actually buy the game for a smaller fee and then get the bundle with the DLC combined. The other opportunity that we took was like, okay, we knew that we were planning to do the console porting. Why not creating an extended edition of the game combined with the DLC only for console and pricing to a higher price? So that's what we did. And in between late February and March 2022, we released the game on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, combined with the DLC and priced at $29.99. Once you start selling, like the game released at $24.99 on PC, it's $5 more on console. Even if numbers on console are not extremely huge, once you start multiply those numbers for 30 euros, they add up to your revenue in a really nice way, actually. So that was a nice strategy that turned out to be interesting for us. Last thing that happened with DLC is it activated new regions and new countries that we haven't expected, actually. Especially with Napa, we got a huge activation in Australia. The game sold decently down under. We didn't expect a huge number. Probably Napa being more similar into wine varieties to Australia activated the users to buy the game, both main game and DLC. Nintendo launch has been difficult due mainly to technical reason, but we learned some stuff there as well. First of all, as I said before, small numbers of copies multiplied by $30 mark can add a little bit of profit to your income. It's not true that Switch players are used to pay everything on a higher price point. We had some difficult conversation, especially on social media, due to the fact that the game was already out on mobile, and Nintendo player perceived the Switch version as a mobile-enhanced version for them. Actually, it was completely the other way around, because the Nintendo Switch is a premium, definitely a premium version of the PC one, but still like a difficult conversation to explain why the game retails at $5.99 on Switch, on mobile, and $29.99 on Switch. Japan and US have been the two countries that drove most attention and sales on Switch. Thankfully, Nintendo Japan, without even knowing, we discovered it after 6 months, were in love with the game and they pushed us. It was really hard for us, being used to track down numbers, to understand that there was some sort of pushing directly from Nintendo in Japan. But yeah, we saw the number increasing in the first month. Last thing that we didn't plan in advance, and it was a little bit of a mistake, Nintendo Press takes a little bit longer to evaluate and review games. I don't know if it was just our case, but like with PC codes, when we send them around in 3 to 4, 5 days maximum, we got a review out. For the Nintendo Press, on average, took 8 to 10 days. So in case you're planning to self-publish a Nintendo title, plan accordingly and send keys a little bit earlier than expected. Yeah. Post-launch communication is something that surprised us a lot. Even if it's really hard to track down the impact on sale, we kept talking about the game on different social media channels, Reddit mainly, but even on Twitter and stuff. Reddit is great if you want to advertise when you are on sale on different subreddits community. I open up a little parenthesis that is not planned. Yesterday, someone in the audience asked Jared from Devolver, how can you translate the content creation that you do for something like Cult of the Lamb that has this humorous tone to a game like us as well, that is more, I would say, standard and not so humorous, or that has a more serious topic. Jared touched that on the latest slide of his presentation, but we did two things mainly that worked really well for us. One was authenticity. Through the whole communication of 100 days, it felt to the players that the game was authentic. It felt to the player that there was a connection between the developer and the topic that they were talking about, and that actually was really, really helpful to get conversion. The other thing that we did was educating. 100 Days talks about wine. Wine is one of those complex matter and topics that people, or you are into wine or you don't know a thing about wine. And trying to educate people that are not commonly wine expert was really nice, because we got people engaged into the conversation. So I don't know if that person that asked that yesterday is still here, but yeah, that's a different solution to treat more serious game. Getting back to my to the communication of our game. One of the events that I want to point out and told you about is what we called internally in the office the Stadia Input Touch Affair. As soon as we released the mobile version in October 2021 and promoted to Twitter, Reddit, and same channel as usual, the Stadia community at the time raised its voice in a lovely manner, asking that if we can support the direct input touch feature that was not supported at launch for our game. My business partner just tweeted like, okay, we're gonna try it, like, let's see what happens. We don't know if we can make it. Thanks to the Google engineer support team, thanks to the community that was lovely in asking that to us, after a couple of months, we've been able to release a patch on Stadia that supported that feature. From December 2021 to January 2022, you can see the increase into the Pro session just because we added a feature. Of course, that costed us a little bit of work, but I can assure you that the January revenues from the Stadia Pro account was pretty decent and covered completely that cost. So try to hear out from your community if they want something. Sometimes it's not achievable. Sometimes you have to say no, but sometimes with a little bit of extra effort, you can get out a little bit of extra income as well. So through Twitter, Steam community apps, Discord, Reddit, as I said before, we built our community. We kept engaging with them before launch, after launch. The game has been constantly updated with new content, feature, and bug fix. We even recently released a patch on PS5 last week. We always kept the community engaged. That made us a trustworthy developer in their eyes. That made them actually buying over and over again the game, also on different platforms. We even, in a moment in time where we didn't have much content to release on social media because we were actually doing the porting of the game, and it was like a stressful bug-fixing moment for us, we even created a small mini-game on Wine on Discord, only for Discord. That game doesn't convert people to give us any of their money or buy anything, but at the end of the day, kept them engaged into our Discord server, and as soon as we released something new, they were still there. They didn't left the place where we built community. Couple of interesting information that we understand a little bit later and that are not so obvious. After launch, we started looking at metrics. As I said, we come from mobile development, so we love analytics and data, and we started looking at engagement numbers. We realized a little bit after that engagement number are a different perspective to look at your game, and they can lead to possible future deals. Game Pass mainly, or any kind of subscription platform deal. Those numbers are interesting for those people. So even if your game didn't sell a ton, try to look at those data, because you can see a different aspect of it. If the community is engaged, you are still proving your point. You are still proving that game deserves to be there, and use that number as a negotiation tool. That's my advice. Two things to notice on the charts of the sales. This is still an old picture, but numbers and volumes have changed. Percentages are still the same. So Argentina is the country in which Steam price adjustment has the lower rates. So in Argentina, the game is way cheaper, and bots buy it through the Argentina VPN. Another thing that you can see there is that Italy doesn't appear in the top 10 countries. We are an Italian team. We expected a little bit more support from our nation, actually. One thing that we discovered, we already knew it, but of course, we discovered after 100 days, is that Italian community doesn't consume indies compared to France, actually, that consumes a lot of it. So, yeah, that's another good outcome and lesson that we learned during this development. So, here I'm going almost at the end, yeah. 100 Days release has been an incredible experience for our company. We planned some stuff in advance. We didn't plan some others that you can see here. But the overall process was really interesting for us because we understood that some of the best opportunities came step by step and just following daily what was going on into our community with our game. So I'm coming to my conclusion. If day 1, day 7, day 30 sales are not as you expected them to be, and as a developer you can afford it, try to keep following daily and check those numbers daily. Prepare yourself for quite a marathon. A good start is good always, but make sure your legs will last to the whole journey. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for sharing the analytics. Just wondering, in the last slide you said that the mobile porting was planned from the start. Do you think there could have been a different way to handle the port and to sort of not disappoint the players that would go from one mobile support to the other, like from Nintendo Switch to mobile with that price point?
Thank you for the question. I didn't mention it in the presentation. Mobile porting was planned because we found a partner during the development that was interested into the mobile version of it. I would be a little bit brutal on that. Like, we took that publishing agreement just because the advance was as much as the game could have sold a lifetime, probably. So the advance was interesting for us and allowed us to actually close the development of the game. Also related to, they are Chinese partners, so they handled mostly the localization in all the Asian languages with 2 different Chineses. Like, there was a partnership there that was interested from a lot of different perspectives. If we have to get back in time and rewind the stuff, probably we will not be doing mobile, and we will just skip it and go directly to Nintendo Switch. The good thing is that during development, and this is from a business perspective, on the technical side, actually, the fact that we planned for mobile from the beginning, and we knew that we had to optimize stuff in order to make them run on every mobile devices, allowed us to be a little bit smarter on the Nintendo side and be a little bit more effective. The actual issue that we had with Nintendo was related to sort of into the certification process. It was not mainly tech, it was much more admin, I would say. Yeah, if I have to go back in time, I probably cancel the mobile version, but it is what it is, and actually, thankful to the mobile version, we have the game, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello,
Hi.
Thank you for the talk, and congratulations for keeping up after the release. I have a question about the 1 hour gap you told about. Like you said, there is 300 sales to reach within the first hour of the release. Is there any tips or tricks you can do to make it best?
I mean, I don't know if that's a threshold for Steam, being honest. Like, that was like the highest peak that we saw for our game, being 1 hour in the top seller, and it was around 300 and something. We collected wishlist and follower for over 2 years. So we launched, I didn't mention that, we launched with 70,000 wishlist and 8,000 followers, something like that, more or less. I don't remember exactly the correct numbers. Being there on the launch day probably was a matter of a lot of coincidence and luck, because that day there were not so many huge titles getting out. So the competition to get into that chart was not incredibly huge. There was another simulation game that actually, and management game that actually probably, like, it was the only actual competitor that we had that day releasing on Steam. It has been a combination of factors. 2 years of developing a community, growing wishlist, being not the only game releasing on that day, but one of the very few, and keep working on the communication daily. And like in the last week, probably, we were streaming constantly the game. We were constantly on every single Twitch channel doing interviews or stuff like that. Like, that's something that you can plan. It's hard to plan for being the only nice game releasing that day. That's something that you cannot plan in advance. So that's why I say it's a combination of planning and a lot of luck, actually. You're welcome. So, thank you so much.